Hello and welcome to Kettle and Bones, where we make really delicious, really healthy food. And you can too. This episode features a dish that you might not think of in the wintertime. You might think this is more of a summer dish, a barbecue type item. But consider this. It's cold outside. Maybe something with a little heat in it is just what we need right now. Plus, after the new year, most of us are going to need some great indulgent snack ideas to help keep us on the post-holiday wagon. Today's recipe is actually right on time. We're making super duper stuffed peppers. Let's get cooking. There are many different varieties of chili peppers and many different ways in which to stuff them. Probably one of the most common stuffed pepper dishes people think of are Jalapeno Poppers, which, obviously, begin with jalapeno peppers. When you pick a pepper for stuffing, you want a pepper that's large enough to fit a substantial amount of filling inside. These are hefty-sized jalapenos with plenty of room inside for stuffins. Jalapenos usually provide a decent amount of heat, too. Not too much, probably toward the lower end of the pepper spectrum overall, but for casual eating, a stuffed jalapeno can have a very nice level of spiciness. There are plenty of other varieties to choose from, though. These are Big Jim peppers. Big Jims are on par with a mild jalapeno in terms of spice, but they're much larger, making them excellent candidates for stuffing, particularly if you're serving diners who might enjoy something just a little milder. Similarly, another large, even milder pepper is the Poblano. These are one of the most common, most popular mild peppers. Poblanos tend to be short and wide, so there's a lot of room for stuffing in here as well. But sometimes you might find yourself cooking for people who don't really like any spiciness in their food. Maybe you're cooking for very young children. You can stuff these mini bell peppers in much the same way that you would stuff a jalapeno popper. Whatever your desired level of heat, you have many great options for making a delicious stuffed pepper. It's easy to adapt these even for diners who don't care for any level of spice. The first thing we need to do to get started is to open the peppers and remove what's inside. What's inside is some seeds and a whitish membrane. The seeds and this membrane are where most of the spiciness resides. So if you take that out, you generally get a tamer, more evenly spiced experience. Although, I'm not going to lose any sleep if a couple seeds remain inside a few of these. I like a good bit of heat in my peppers, and like I said, it's cold outside. I'm going to start with a vertical cut down the side of this, and then carefully I'm going to open it a little to the point where I think I can access the inside. Now these jalapenos I'm using are very fresh, and so they're much more crunchy and rigid than they are flexible. This one just kind of split into two halves. It's not a big deal. I can still stuff this, no problem. Using a small spoon, I have scraped the interior seeds and tissue out. Those are going into my trash bowl. And I'm going to do the rest of the jalapenos the same way. Yeah, these jalapenos are really crunchy and they don't have much flexibility to them at all. I think we're going to have an easier time when we get to our other varieties of peppers. Okay, let's see if our Big Jims are any easier. Oh yeah. Just holding this in my hand, I can tell that the skin has a lot more give to it. Look at that flex. I can easily get my spoon in here without cracking and splitting these. And my poblanos are big and roomy inside by comparison. It's easy to get a spoon in there. The mini bell peppers are a little more difficult to get the spoon into just because they are so small, but they also don't have much in the way of seeds and tissue in there anyway, and they're not particularly spicy to begin with. So emptying these out, it's not that tough. Okay, all of our peppers are now hollow and empty. Husks, mere shells of their former selves. Fortunately, peppers don't feel feelings. We're going to set that aside for a moment, and next, let's put together our filling. In a pan over medium heat, we're going to begin with some toasted spices. Stuffed peppers lend themselves really well to a southwest-ish sort of vibe, so I'm toasting some whole cumin seeds, some freshly ground black pepper, some thyme leaves, dried oregano, and some smoked paprika. You'll notice I'm keeping these moving as I go. There's not a lot in this pan, so our spices can scorch if you let them sit in one place for too long. Next, in goes some finely chopped onion. This is about half of a small white onion. I'm just going to saute that for a few minutes until the onions get soft and the toasted spices have been well mixed in with them. And that's good. Let's remove this from heat and set that aside to cool a bit. The next element of our filling will be cream cheese. This is 2 packages of cream cheese, a total of 16 ounces or about 454 grams. I had this sitting out while I prepped my chili peppers, so it has become nice and soft at room temperature. I'm going to start by adding some of our easy roasted garlic from Series 1, Episode 11. Check that out if you haven't already. This is something that you always want to have on hand in your fridge. It has a mellower, milder flavor than fresh garlic that will be just perfect for this. Now in go our seasoned sautéed onions, followed by some finely chopped fresh green onions, also known as scallions, and a nice little squeeze of a half lime's worth of lime juice. Let's give that a thorough stirring, being sure to squish and incorporate any large bits, especially the cloves of roasted garlic. That's good and smooth now, so let's have a taste. Off to a great start. Just needs a little salt to enhance, and a bit more fresh pepper, as well as a little more smoked paprika. As with all the dishes we make, you can steer this in any direction you'd like. A few other suggestions might be soy sauce, chili paste, cilantro, Worcestershire sauce, fish sauce, and many more. In fact, I think I'm going to experiment with 2 different flavors of filling today, so I'm actually going to transfer not quite half of this into a second bowl. In the first bowl, I'm going to shred some oven-roasted chicken that I already had cooked. These were just chicken tenders that I tossed in seasoning and oven roasted for about 30 minutes at 375 degrees Fahrenheit, about 190 degrees Celsius. Now, there's a variation on the jalapeno popper that's known as a Texas Twinkie. A Texas Twinkie recipe would have us adding smoked beef brisket here, which would be delicious. If you want to go that route, but you didn't get up today at 4 a.m. to fire up your smoker, just swing by your favorite barbecue place and pick up a half pound of brisket. Boom, done. Or hero meat, or doner kebab, or pick up a rotisserie chicken and chop some of that up into fine chunks. This can be made very easy with a wide variety of meats. Or, as I'm going to do with our second bowl, this bowl right here, grab some of your favorite seafood. I'm going to add some lobster claw meat. I found this already cooked and frozen in the grocery store freezer section. Didn't even have to steam it myself. This could also be crab, lump or claw meat. It could be chopped shrimp. It could be flakes of grilled white fish or smoked salmon. It could even be crab stick, just as long as it's not a crab stick that's packed with weird preservatives or lots of added sugars or starches. Tell you what, I don't think the lobster bowl is going to need quite this much cream cheese base filling, so let's move some of that back over to the chicken bowl. There we go. Let's mix this thoroughly to incorporate all our little meaty bits, and to the lobster filling I'm also going to add a bit of Old Bay seasoning to accentuate the seafoodiness of this batch. Okay, these are ready. If you'd like, go ahead and taste these and adjust if you need to. Mine are just where I want them, so let's bring back our hollowed out peppers because it's time to get stuffed. Yeah, you heard me. Let's start by filling one of our jalapenos with the chicken cream cheese mixture. This is that first jalapeno that split into 2 pieces, so I'm just gonna fill each of these halves and see if I can get them to stay stuck together. Same with the second one. If not, we'll end up with a sort of open-faced jalapeno popper. Nothing wrong with that. Oh, I almost forgot one other thing that I wanted to put in here, and that's more cheese. Yes, I know it seems like a lot already, but if we add some shredded cheese in here, then we're gonna get that nice cheese stretch when you bite into them. I want that. I'm using Monterey Jack today. Our cream cheese mixture is pretty flavorful already, so I don't really need the cheese to bring too much to the table in terms of additional flavor, but you could use a pepper jack, cheddar, Gouda, Gruyere, some smoked cheeses could add a really great flavor dimension to this as well. Listen to your heart and stomach. Our shredded cheese is now well incorporated, so it's back to stuffing. Let's do this final jalapeno with some of our lobster cream cheese. I'm excited to taste test the lobster and the chicken side by side. This is going to be good. For the rest of our peppers, it's pretty much the same thing. The Poblanos hold a little more filling, so it will be interesting to see and taste how the different filling to pepper ratios change things. Let's also be sure to do a Poblano with the lobster mixture as well. For the big Jims, let's do 1 chicken, 1 lobster. And last but not least, the same goes for our mini bell peppers. All right, looking good. Now, I could pop these into the oven right now, and they would come out rich, delicious, and satisfying. But we're not done yet. Pop quiz. What do you add to an already delicious savory food item to make it even better? That's correct, bacon. I have some thick-cut bacon slices that I've cut in half the long way, giving us long, thin strips that are going to be great for wrapping our peppers. I also have some mildly spicy chorizo here too. We're going to try something fun with that. I'm going to remove it from its casing so we just have the ground meat to work with. Let's grab a jalapeno and get to wrapping. There's really no special technique required here, just coil your bacon as though it's a python around the pepper, as though it's an unlucky slow-moving antelope. Your larger peppers may require multiple strips. Just start your second strip where the first one ended and keep on wrapping. 1 strip of bacon will probably be enough for the smaller peppers though, our mini bell peppers mainly. The longer big Jims and the somewhat portly Poblanos will of course need more than 1. I'm going to wrap as many as I can with the bacon I have remaining. Also, now let me show you what I have in mind for the chorizo. If you encase a stuffed pepper in ground sausage, it becomes something known as an armadillo egg. I know, armadillos don't actually lay eggs, it's probably a Texas thing. But it's a really cool variation on the concept, and it's a great way to pack even more protein into this recipe than the bacon-wrapped version. I'm doing my best here to seal the seam between the 2 pieces of sausage that I used. Hopefully this stays together as it cooks. Our last piece of bacon is going around this bell pepper, so that means we'll have a selection of a few jalapenos and poblanos that are non-bacon wrapped. The last thing we need to do for the structural integrity of our bacon-wrapped peppers is to pin the ends of the bacon strips in place using toothpicks. Bacon tends to contract and change shape as it cooks, so if we didn't pin it down, it probably wouldn't stay in place on our peppers very well. Now, all of these are going onto a wire rack in a baking sheet. There will be a fair amount of drippage as our pork-covered peppers cook, so this is important. One final optional step is to also season the outside. I'm brushing on a sugar-free barbecue sauce that I like for some great smoky flavor on a couple of our bacon pieces and on some of our au naturel peppers. On our lobster-filled peppers, I'd like to do more of a dry rub. Let's just go with a sprinkle of Old Bay on the outside, but really any dry rub barbecue seasoning would be great on any of these, as long as it doesn't add carbs in the form of sugars or starch or something like that. These are going into the oven at 375 degrees Fahrenheit, that's about 190 degrees Celsius. I'm going to check them after 50 minutes, 50 minutes, and then we'll see how they look. Ooh, look at that. So the total cook time in my oven ended up being about 1 hour, 15 minutes. I checked them after 50 minutes and they were cooked, but I really wanted the bacon to be more crisp, so I left them in, checking periodically until it was just right. And some of the pieces of bacon actually got a little crispier than the others, probably just due to the hot spots in my particular oven. So we have some variety here for those who like their bacon a little bit softer. The peppers themselves have all cooked really nicely, and the filling is good and hot. That cheese is going to be perfectly melty. Our armadillo egg hatched a bit. Next time, I'll probably work the sausage that I'm using into one cohesive piece before I wrap it around a pepper. But anyway, the flavor on this is still going to be amazing. This is awesome as an appetizer tray, party platter, or just as a main meal. These are really filling, so for me and a few family members, this right here is tonight's dinner. So sure, this may seem more like something you'd expect to see during barbecue season, but I would suggest that with the winter weather a-comin' and snack-intensive televised winter sports events on the horizon, a good, solid keto and low-carb stuffed pepper recipe is something you need in your repertoire. Stay with Kettle and Bones for many, many more low-carb and keto-friendly snacks, entrees, and meals that will help you keep warm and cozy this winter. But for now, just enjoy your super duper stuffed peppers.